louder than words, you know. But sometimes action is just a manifestation of words.
I know you say that you love me. I know you say that you care. You would do anything for me, and you will always be there. I can't say you never hurt me, but if I have to be fair, nobody is perfect, yeah. You don't ever have to worry. I'll ride with you through every journey. When it's pouring rain, I'll shelter you. Anything I'll do for you. And no matter how much you say you love me, I want you to know I love you more. 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 And that's for sure. Love you from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Don't you want feel so incomplete? I love you more and more each day. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. You don't have to buy me diamonds. You don't have to buy me nothing. I don't love you for your money. I would want you even if you had nothing. Just show me that you love me, because I give what I get 10 times over. Don't you ever forget it. And you don't ever have to worry. I'll ride with you through every journey. When it's pouring rain, I'll shelter you. Anything I'll do for you. And no matter how much you say you love me, I want you to know I love you more. 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 And that's for sure. Love you from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. Don't you want feel so incomplete? I love you more and more each day. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh. I love you more. I love you more.
I don't know if you love me more than I love you.
Love you more.
The sound of Patrice Roberts kicking things off tonight.
I love you
A track called I Love You More.
perfect, yeah. You don't ever have to worry
Greetings and salutations one and all. How you doing?
through every journey.
Welcome to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
Anything I'll do for you. And no matter how much you
It's Real Talk Night.
want you to know I love you more.
I want to say thank you all for joining. Thank you for the love.
I love you more. I love you more. I love you more. I love you more. And that's for
Those that normally watch on kevinstew.com, let me tell you from now, the video is down on kevinstew.com.
love you more.
So I'll be spending the night with you guys on Facebook Live. Yup. Believe it or not, I'll be hanging with you guys on Facebook Live for tonight.
Diamonds. You don't have to buy me nothing.
I do want to say big ups to my affiliates locked in tonight.
Just show me
Those out in New Jersey, NIE Radio.
what I
The Motivator, big up your status, my brother.
times over. Don't you ever forget.
You can catch The Motivator
And you
on Double Trouble Thursdays,
have to worry
9 p.m. Eastern on NIE Radio.
you through
Catch him for the Motivation Saturdays,
I shelter you.
1 p.m.
Anything I'll do for you. And no matter how much you say you love me,
Much love to your Motivator.
I love you more.
Big ups to those who are locked in on the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com. Remember, you can catch Mr. Lindsay at 12 p.m. Monday through Friday. And on Sundays, he has a special broadcast on Reggae Global Radio. It's called What's it called again? Sultry Sundays. Yeah, that's what it's called. A nice vibe, a really nice vibe. I want to say big ups to those who are locked in on TuneIn Radio on the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew. The family over there in Clubhouse. Those that are following, the club is called the Stew Pot. Big ups to those that are listening on Zeno FM. Much love to you all. Like I said, tonight we're hanging out on Facebook Live. I do want to say thanks to my sponsors. Policy Media Group and Being in the Moment is priceless. Give them a call. They take care of things that you normally see on kevinstew.com when you're watching live there, but they also host the website. So what can they do for you? All of those things and more. You have a wedding, a funeral, a church service, a party, a graduation, a seminar, something you want to stream live whether on your platform or theirs. Give them a call, 754-999-1140. They got the hookup for you. I want to say thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties. She comes to you, bringing her table, her oils, and over 20 years massage therapy experience. Just go ahead and give her a call, 954-655-9000. That's 954-655-9000. Or email her at thealater@att.net. That's thealater@att.net. She only has one request outside of paying her, and that's it, that you get off her table and go sleep somewhere else. It's called the Kevin Stew Clause. Yeah, that's because I always fall asleep. I want to say thanks to Reggae Global Entertainment. Reggae Global will act as your booking agent, handle your tour management, take care of your business registration, legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, and so much more. Give them a call, 954-804-8199, or check them out at reggaeglobal.com. Tell them DJ Kevin Stew sent you. Thank you to McNeil Trucking. With McNeil Trucking, your goods are in good hands. They're licensed and insured movers in the state of Florida. Give them a call today, 954-406-9740. That's 954-406-9740. You want to move from point A to point B, put some things in storage, don't have the equipment, don't have no manpower? No worries. Call up McNeil Trucking. They got you. Your goods in good hands. Tell them you heard about them on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Now I do invite everyone to call a friend, tell a friend, friends of your friends, friends of your enemies, enemies of your friends, and your enemies too. We're not leaving anybody out. The information is good for everybody. Numbers to call, numbers to text. 773-789-STEW. That's 773-789-7839. That's 773-789-7839. You can call, you can text, you can WhatsApp, you can Telegram. You don't have the Stew Pot on Kevin Stew. Well, actually, the Stew Pot is still available on kevinstew.com. But we're not live over there tonight. However, if you want to message me there, you can. I'll still see it. If you're listening on TuneIn and that is the only place that you normally message, that's fine. You can go and message there. listen and tune in and send your messages on in the stew pot on kevinstew.com. You can do that.
I love you more. I love you more. I love you more.
Big ups to those who are locked in on Facebook Live.
From your head to the sole of your feet.
Don't be shy, drop a hi. Yeah, man. The sound of Patrice Roberts. Thank you, Patrice. It's called I Love You More. All right, so tonight on Real Talk, we're looking at and talking about sapiosexuals. Ever heard of them? Yeah, there has been some talk about sapiosexuals in more recent times. Hey Nadia, how are you? Welcome. Greetings and salutations to you. So, who are sapiosexuals? What manner of human definition is this? You know, what group does this person fall in? Now, by definition, a sapiosexual, according to Very Well Mind, a sapiosexual is someone who finds intelligence sexy, attractive, or arousing. Now, think about it for a moment. Intelligence, not muscles, not money, not fame, but intelligence, which means the guy on the street corner that doesn't have a job right now, but always engages his homies in deep conversation is quite intelligent. Then, if you're a sapiosexual, you may find this individual really attractive. Even though your friends might say, boy, you know, yeah, what do you see in... You still find this person sexy. Now, the word sapiosexual originated from the Latin root sapien, which means wise, and sexualis, which means sexual. You know, it speaks for itself. So a sapiosexual is still a fairly new word. The first known use of it was about 2004. So it's still pretty new, and anyone can really identify as a sapiosexual. Both heterosexuals and LGBTQIA plus people can identify as sapiosexual. Now, what we're gonna do, apart from go back way back, is to look into what a sapiosexual is and how we can determine if any of us fall under that umbrella. Now, there might be some ways that you could possibly meet them, and later on we're going to be looking at possible ways to woo them. Yeah, you know, that might be someone that you're attracted to, but they're not quite attracted to you because they're a sapiosexual and you're not really on their radar. So how do you get their attention? Well, we're gonna see if we can figure that out as we get through tonight's broadcast. Now, again, call your friends, tell your friends, share it with somebody. Tell your friends of your friends, friends of your enemies, enemies of your friends, and your enemies to tell everybody. I want to be interactive tonight. Let me hear from you guys, all right? So, for sapiosexuals, everything begins and ends with the brain. Intellect stimulates sexual attraction for them. So, what does it mean then to fall under this umbrella? Because they're attracted to intellect, you can't be a sapiosexual without the brain being triggered. There's no lust, No liking, no wanting, no sexual gratification. None of that happens unless the brain has been stimulated on an intellectual level first. And unlike gender specific restrictions, sapiosexuality has no limitations. So, what you can end up find happening is that an individual may like men, they may like women, they may like trans people, bisexual people, any person, any gender, or sexual identity, just because they're intelligent. It's like just loving the color purple. And anything that is purple, you want it. Sapiosexuals are attracted to and focus on the inner workings of a person's mind more than the other person, more than the person's exterior. Now, not to say that they don't notice the exterior. It's just that what really connects that individual is the mind. When sapiosexuals are in search of a partner, they focus more on their potential mate's intelligence instead of their looks. So the superficial qualities, the body shape, the size, the facial features, all those things actually take a back seat. You ever see some people and you see the partner that they're with and you ask the question, how? Well, this is one of those situations where the how is related to something that you cannot see. Now, some of the most common attributes of a sapiosexual are what we're going to look at right now. And if you find yourself agreeing with some of these things, then you may fall under the umbrella of a sapiosexual. If you don't know it yet, here's the time that you're going to take out your checklist. So you take out a little notebook and you start checking things off. Again, I want to hear from you. 773-789-STEW. That's 773-789-7839. One more time. In fact, let me put it across the screen once more. 773-789-7839. Easy way to remember it, 789-STEW. As in Kevin Stew. Yeah? Cool. So, if there's nothing better to you than engaging in an intellectual conversation, then, as very well mine says, you're definitely a sapiosexual. They find themselves attracted to other people who can effectively express themselves articulately, and they listen to you as you do the same. So if you're attracted to that, then you might be a sapiosexual. You could fall under this umbrella if you are easily aroused by someone's ability to touch you without touching you. You know, they make you steamy, intrigued, tantalized, completely beside yourself. And they do this all with their oral expertise, but without an oral performance. So if this sounds like you, well, under the sapiosexual umbrella you stand. If you value an intelligent mind over a sexy body, or because of the intelligent mind, the body is sexy, then that might be you. If you're more interested in what a person believes, what their beliefs are, what they stand for, and you're excited to learn about their morals, values, interests, then you're a sapiosexual. If you find it refreshing to see your date use your apostrophe re correctly, yeah, if just that is something that impresses you and you light up because of it, you might be a sapiosexual. Because for them, good grammar is a must. It's not okay, it can go. It's a must. If you prefer quiet places with no distractions or interruptions so you can engage in an intellectual conversation with a potential mate, well, you might fall under the umbrella. Likewise, sapiosexuals will likely prefer a smaller, intimate setting for a first date over a bar or a lounge. So, not to say that they all do, but I guess, according to Very Well Mind, most of them do. And while it's not hard to determine if you're a sapiosexual, it can be hard to find like-minded individuals. Find the ones that you can relate to on that level. Why, it might be tough. Yeah, Marlon. Marlon says, my name is Marlon and I am a sapiosexual. I love it. Big ups to my brother Marlon, host of Real Rockers. And Real Rockers happens on Reggae Global Radio every Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you can check out Marlon over there. He's a reggae music. Well, he's just a music edutainer altogether. A walking, talking reggae music encyclopedia kind of a deal. He is just awesome. So again, if intelligence turns you on, you might want to listen to Real Rockers. It might take you on a trip. Cujo, what's going on, bro? Much love. Now, for most sapiosexuals, clubs, bars, lounges, concerts, sporting events are key places. Well, for most individuals, I should say, these are key places to meet single people. If you're interested in finding people with lots of knowledge and wisdom, then you might want to look in a different location. Let's say the library. Yep. There's really no better place to meet an intellect. Someone driven by knowledge than at the library. But let me ask you this. How many people still use a library? Because information is at your fingertips on your personal devices. So who needs a library in this day and age? Who goes there? Now, of course, there are bookstores that you might find people sitting and soaking up some knowledge because they don't want to, say, download the book on a device like a Kindle, on an e-reader, or download an audiobook. So they might go to some of these bookstores and, grab a book, sit around a table somewhere and have a good read. I have done that to learn about a few things in the past. And but that's another story. But a library. And the really cool thing about meeting a sapiosexual at a library is the two of you can pick out books, or library or bookstore. I'm going to include bookstore. You can pick out books, the same book, for example, and sit in a nice little spot and read it together. And that's a free date. But the value of that date is priceless. Another place is online. Hey, Julie. How are you doing, my dear? Big ups to Julie and Lee coming to join us tonight, passing through, huh, Julie? A topic that you can relate to. You can catch Julie on the Truly Julie experience on Saturdays at 1 Jules, 1 on Flex FM. The internet is another place where you can meet intellects or sapiosexuals because it affords a multitude of opportunities for meeting people of all types. But if you say try online dating, connecting with new people on social media, taking online classes, creative writing, cooking, photography. Some of these, I don't know if they do Toastmasters by online or something like that. That's another way you can meet some like-minded people. Look for support groups because they too exist. Yeah? There are meetup groups to do activities with people with similar interests, and there are even forums created specifically for people with certain interests. So the possibilities are endless online. So you can find yourself a sapiosexual group, support group, possibly online. Now, there's an old school way of doing it by way of your friends. Now, I'm not talking about your social media friends. I'm talking about your real life friends. And so Julie says it's a topic you can truly relate to. Well, the phone number. Drop us a line and give me some insight as to your experience as it relates to sapiosexuality. Now, the friend of a friend thing can work also. Sapiosexuals usually have a hard time finding compatible matches, but friends can be good resources. You may have a friend that knows a friend that is the perfect match for you. So it's not to say that they're playing matchmaker, but that's a shoe-in kind of a deal. Don't count your friends out. And having them assist in your love life might actually be a good idea. Now, they're assisting, they're not actively participating. And who knows, that person, that friend, could actually be the person that you're looking for. It's just that you keep looking past them. And I say that because a lot of people talk about, wanting to or looking for that special someone. They want their partner to be their best friend, but yet still they overlook their best friend as their potential partner. Who says that can't be your partner? Where did you get that information? Have you ever taken yourself out on a date? How many people have? Those are you guys listening to the sound of my voice right now. Drop me a line, shoot me a text, and just say, I have. Taking yourself out on a date, just say, I have. Or if you are on Facebook Live, just say, I have. If you haven't, here's why it is possibly the best thing to do. First, there's no wait. You'd have to wait on a second person to meet up or anything. Second, people gravitate towards others who are confident enough to take themselves out on a date. Who knew? Mind blown. If you go solo to one of your favorite restaurants, you might meet other single people there who also love that restaurant. So off the bat, you have something in common. Then you can both sit down and talk about why you love the restaurant so much. It's a way to start off your conversations. And it's always fun to connect over a shared love of food anyway. It's an easy win. So you take yourself out. And okay, Nadia, Julie, you guys have taken yourselves out. when you're out, have you ever been approached by someone who also is out? Because this is the other side of it, you know. You end up taking yourself out on a date and someone sees you sitting there by yourself. And I have done it. I know I've been guilty of it. I've seen someone out by themselves and thought, huh, what are they dealing with? Are they having a rough time? But then you look at their faces and they're content with their meal, and they might be reading a book and having a meal, or they're just chilling and enjoying their meal. I've seen it happen, and I have been tempted to ask the question. And so I guess this speaks to the part about people gravitating to people who are confident enough to take themselves out on a date. For me, I just want to know why. And anybody that knows me always know that I always want to know the why. Another way to meet up with sapiosexuals is by doing whatever it is that you love to do. And again, a no-brainer. So if you like going out to eat, that is your thing to do. If you like going to the movies, that's your thing to do. Whatever makes the dopamine flow generously is where you should go to meet your ideal person. Wait. The person that loves being at home reading a good book, how are they going to meet someone? Sapiosexuals often like seclusion and pampering. So places like the spa, hair salon, nail shop, yoga, yoga studios, museum, art galleries, plays, live music venues. These are great places to look for other singles if you're in the market for a new partner. So, all right. So what are you saying, Marlon? I've never looked at it as taking myself out on a date. I look at it as I want to go out, so I go out with or without someone. Okay. All right. So you're not taking yourself out on a date. You're going out, whether or not you have company. Either way, when you've been out, have you ever caught the eye of someone looking at you going, I wonder? Or have you looked at someone and said, I wonder? How about this for a social experiment? And you guys know my number, 773-789-7839. Stew, for short, the last 4 digits, spell out stew. All right, so go out, when you take yourself out again, or as Marlon says, just go out. Look for that person who is also out by themselves. And just in all, you're a sapiosexual and an introvert. Well, let's dig into that one a little bit later. And but I want to come back to that one, Marlon. But let's go ahead and do a social experiment. Next time you're out, you take yourself out. Look for that person that may have taken themselves out also. And just ask, hey, you here by yourself? And I know it seems kind of weird. It may be awkward to do. People coming off the quarantine experience don't want to interact with anybody. But if your eyes meet more than once in a location, if there's a little bit of a smile, then chances are you can exchange pleasantries. At minimum, it's not like you're saying that you're going to propose. You're just saying hi, exchanging pleasantries. How bad could that be? And if you take a walk around your neighborhood, which nowadays seems to be so far-fetched, because walk, who does that? But you'd be surprised to know how many single sapiosexuals are doing the same thing that you're doing. So go ahead, take a stroll and see what you might come up with. See what you might find, who you might encounter. You might be pleasantly surprised. Now, according to thelist.com, there's a reason, in fact, a scientific reason, that you're attracted to intelligence. And who knew it would have boiled down to science? But sapiosexuals put looks and personality on the back burner, and they prioritize knowledge. So if you appear to be intelligent, then for a sapiosexual, you could appear to be attractive. Yeah? So Diana Rabb, PhD in transpersonal psychology, wrote on Psychology Today, quote, "Those who admit to being sapiosexual will say that they are turned on by the brain and tend to be teased and excited by the insights of another person. This means the person whom you're attracted to might have a tendency to have an incisive, inquisitive, and irreverent mind." Rab goes on to say, as foreplay, the sapiosexual person may crave philosophical, political, or psychological discussions because this turns them on. So, you know, they say the nerds are the ones that don't get the dates. Well, for a sapiosexual, the nerd is the only person that matters. And if this sounds like you, then let's look at the why. The term sapiosexual, coined in 1998 by a LiveJournal user known as Wolfie Boy. And since its creation, the term had many ups and downs and has been the subject of plenty criticism. After OkCupid decided to make it an option as a sexual orientation on their website, the term took off. So those that you hear talking about it, they probably saw it on OkCupid or heard someone who was on OkCupid using it. Not many people did use it. And I was surprised. I saw a post from one of my friends, and she said that she was sapiosexual, and I kind of chuckled to myself because I don't know, she probably thought I didn't know what it meant. And when I spoke to her on it, she was like, "Huh, so you know about this?" And I'm like, yeah. But then again, in my line of work, I should, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm sapio too. Who knows? Kristen Tinsky created the app Sapio and told HuffPost, quote, "For many, defining oneself as sapiosexual has become a statement against the current status quo of hookup culture and superficiality, where looks are prized above all else. This rings true with what Psychology Today reported back in 2011. Generally speaking, those with higher education have a lower number of sexual partners." Is that true? Let me think back at some of my friends with higher education that I know of their exploits. All right, I'll leave that one to the people at thelist.com to believe whatever it is that they put out there. Of course, there are some anomalies, and I know them personally. Now, Mashable reports that sapiosexuals are hard to define due to different definitions of intelligence. You know, human emotional maturity, IQ, goals in life, or being educated, all those things. Now, while many self-identifying sapiosexuals do say that physical attraction is still important, they acknowledge that looks don't last. Being smart, that's forever. And their attraction to knowledge and fulfilling conversations is what appeals to them the most. Comment here. I first came across the term a couple of years ago and saw the definition and immediately realized that was me. You know, Marlon, it's good when you can identify with a particular group. And as social beings, we like to know that we are included in a group. It's one of the things that we do. We are drawn to groups because, again, we're social beings. So you have found your group, sir. But according to the list.com, science says women find intelligence sexy because of natural selection and their desire to reproduce, which drives them to make the subconscious choice to be with an intelligent man. A 2009 study found that men with higher IQs have healthier sperm and are more virile, something women are seemingly able to perceive. And while smarties might not be having more sex, another study found that they do have a higher sex drive, which is also an attractive quality in a partner. So, do we know then why it is that women like smart men? But, alright, hold on 1 second. If women like smart men, why is it that the nerds in school get such a hard time? But who are they getting the hard time from? Is it the women or is it the men? Because here's the thing. The girls, well, I guess because they're not yet developed. They haven't gotten to that stage in development where they can understand what it is that they're looking for. They just want to have a good time, and they want to have a good time with the most popular person. And the nerd doesn't seem to be that person. However, everybody knows the nerd. So how does popularity work? Maybe we need to look into that some more. Is popularity the individual who is the one that they want to hang out with the most, that everybody wants to be around and be in their company? Or does it refer to the person who is most known? Because if that is the case, everybody knows who the nerds are. Because these are the ones that, when you watch the movies, they are the ones that the jocks ask to do their homework. So even the jocks know who they are. But yet still, it is the jocks that are the ones that are always getting the girls. That's according to the movies. I can't say that has been my experience. I was never a jock in school, and even if I was, it didn't matter because I went to an all-boys school. My high school was an all-boys high school. So, did it really matter? Not so much. But what does it really mean to be turned on by intelligence? Now, according to Psychology Today, the SAPIOQ is a list of 9 statements that is well, maybe I should take it from before that so that you guys can have an idea what the SAPIOQ is. The term sapiosexual has been in circulation for a good decade now, right? And it is taken to mean something along the lines of an individual who finds high level of intelligence the most sexually attractive trait. And as someone who identifies as sapiosexual, the writer here says, I have been a little disheartened to see an absence of sapiosexuality research in the behavioral sciences, and somewhat encouraged but ultimately disappointed in the research by Gignac and his team at the University of Western Australia. Now, Gignac gained some notoriety for designing the SapioQ, a diagnostic questionnaire to determine sapiosexuality. But the questions fall flat, especially when talking about something as exciting and dynamic as sexual attraction. The SapioQ is a list of 9 statements that the participant ranks on a 1 to 5 Likert scale, from strongly disagree to strongly agree, as they apply them to their various questions, right? So even though it is psychometrically sound, the SapioQ includes statements like, a physically attractive person with only an average intelligence is a turn off for me. And I cannot imagine myself in a sexual relationship with someone who works in a very intellectually demanding job. Those are some of the questions. The writer goes on to say, my objection to these statements is that they present the participant with a cold assessment of sapiosexuality. Merely considering an interaction with a hypothetically intelligent person where they're simply considered intelligent or their intelligence is marked by their job. This is not enough to scrape the surface of sexuality. Think about it. That person that you engage in that deep conversation with, you're in deep dialogue, you don't even know how it started. There you were minding your own business and a bird flew by and y'all started talking about birds, the different type of birds, birds of prey, birds with weird mating rituals, how male birds in one part of the world tend to have brighter colors, how the eyes of birds work in determining colors, because some birds can only see in black and white, some birds can only see violet colors, some birds can only see in shades of bright and dark. And wait, okay, so y'all get the picture. I noticed I was rambling there, I caught myself. But then you end up in this long, deep dialogue about birds. Now here's the funny thing. You suddenly catch yourself and realize that ornithological creatures of similar plumage agglutinate. And so you're like, oh my goodness, I have found my rib. For those of you who don't know what I just said, it is birds of a feather flock together. And it hits you. But the problem is, this person that you just had this mind-blowing, this orgasmic session of explosive oral, what did I call it on my post? Oral lingus. Yes. Then you realize they don't quite fit the mold of what society calls sexy. But you find yourself so aroused. Things that make you go, whoa. Not even but whoa. So now you have to ask yourself, do I pursue this feeling that I'm feeling as a result of this experience that I'm having that is beyond anything that I can explain to my friends that only talk about shoes and the latest designer this or that, or the latest movie that came out with the actor that did the thing at the place? And you realize that, wait, not many people can understand what it is that you're experiencing at this point in time, but the person that just blew your mind. Comment here on Facebook. Some are not intelligent. They want to fit in the circle of high society. They're fakes. But okay, so let's look at them for a moment, Cujo. They want to fit in to high society, so they're faking it. Well, the thing about intelligence is that it shows up at the most, or the lack of, shows up when you least want it to. And so they really can't hide now, can they? I got a message. I can't tell anyone about this. Why can't you tell anyone about this? Why are you hiding it? Do you think then that, like Cujo is saying, they'll start pretending to be intelligent so that you will like them? Well, even if they do, then the truth comes out at some point. So, is it that whenever they're around you, they start using big words, and in order to make themselves sound more intelligent? But I don't think the sapiosexual is that impressed when it comes to the vocabulary of the individual that they're interacting with, so much so as they're impressed with the content of what they're saying. So they don't have to be going off using all these scientific definitions of cockroaches and lizards and birds and mosquitoes and whatever else. Just the mere fact that they could take the time out to read a book on something, that might be the thing. Or the willingness of them to do research on how to change the car oil because they can no longer afford to be going to the mechanic shop, or the mechanic moved and they don't trust people very easily, so now they have to learn how to do it themselves, and so they decided to read a book on how to do it. How to bake a cake, how to cook, how to make gumbo, jambalaya, something different, something that requires them to learn a new skill, and they're willing to do it. That is the kind of thing, in my opinion, that would impress a sapiosexual. I don't know. What say you? I don't know. For those that are listening and want to participate in tonight's broadcast, do remember, everything is happening on Facebook tonight. So if you're listening on TuneIn or any of the audio platforms and you want to send me a message, of course you can do so in the stew pot. It's what others call a chat room on kevinstew.com, but because we're fancy, it's the stew pot. But use up the telephone number 773-789-STEW. That's 773-789-7839. Send me a message. Go ahead and comment here on Facebook Live. Most of you guys know my Facebook handle. If you don't, it's DJ Kevin Stew. It's DJ-Kevin as one word, and Stew, STEW. Those of you that are listening. Also, you can follow The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. This probably should have been a broadcast on The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew and then shared to kevinstew.com. But hey, potato, potato, tomato, tomato. We're working with what we have right now, right? Okay, I won't mention cake, but pastries. Baked goodies. Now, Oh, you don't want to have your cake and eat it too? Even that. Oh boy. Let me not even start on that one. But so Cujo, I remember talking about Jamaica soccer there, and they started talking to me about golf, not even knowing anything about the game when they saw friends, and I was confused. Okay, so these are individuals that are pretending to be something they're not. Cool, I get it. So it is considered that people who play golf are in a certain class versus those that play soccer. Cool, I get that too. Here's the thing though. If you follow the trend, and this is all I'm going to say on this, and I'm just going to leave it alone and move on. If you follow the trends, you have people that play soccer and basketball, people that play American football, people that play tennis, and people that play golf. Generally, you find more people that live in as regular people playing the game, playing soccer and basketball. And you do find a lot more people who are considered uptowners, the high society people, as Cujo call them, playing golf. Well, here's the thing that you should also take note of. As you go through the ranks, or the status, if you want to use that to define the individuals playing those sports, the balls get smaller. Now, I'll go on with what we're talking about with sapiosexuals. In addition to the problem of subjectivity, of intelligence, that is, the assessment is largely devoid of what the person of desire's intelligence is actually doing for the sapiosexual. Intelligence represents a potential, but it is the creativity flowing from the potential that causes the excitement. And that's what I was talking about. Is it the presentation of the intelligence, or is it the content of the presentation that is causing the excitement? The writer goes on to say, who is this writer anyway? I should have really looked. Dr. Jack, no, it's Jack Pement, Pement, and he goes on to say, I lost my spot just because I went to look at it. For me, Pennant, to come across a female writer whose prose is second to none, and writing can stimulate deep thought and the ability to see a new perspective, that is what is so hot. It's the way they have used their intelligence to manipulate and play with my own thoughts that is so arousing. By looking at how some of the best writers and artists have made people feel, there might be some credible headway made in understanding sapiosexuality. Amateurs in all of those fields can recognize the brilliance of this intelligence by contrasting the work of their own abilities, and it's then that behavioral scientists might want to start measuring blood flow to the genitals. At that point, they should be paying attention to know what is actually stimulating and what is not. So the SapioQ appears to be rigidly focused on the idea of intelligence when actually wanting to choose a sexual partner for the relationship purpose. But this undercuts the important role of fantasy. Pennant goes on to say, I would argue that regardless of sexuality, fantasy plays a huge role in how a person experiences sexual thought and fulfillment. Having your mind teased by the intellectual acrobatics of a person makes for a fun evening. The creative output of many intellectuals is already inside people's homes. it's ready to be made use of when a person wants to dim the lights and to be titillated by genius. These are private moments for the sapiosexual, and they may or may not transfer over to finding a partner. Big up Stola. Much love to you, bro. Much love, much love. All right, so here it is again, measuring the connectivity of an individual by way of this concept of intelligence, not including the fantasy aspect. And how amazing it is when we drift off into fantasy, because everything is perfect in a fantasy world, right? So the sapiosexual, the individual who is so aroused by intelligence and the presentation of said intelligence, starts fantasizing about their object of desire. I was going to say their limerent object, but I guess you'd have to have some connection with the individual. There has to be some relationship already there for them to become a limerent object. So their object of desire, and there goes the fantasies. As a result, now it's triggered by the intelligence, but who is the person that they see in that fantasy? Do they have their same features? So if the person is overweight, walks with a limp, has one eye, and talks kind of funny, but is smart as a whip, then how do they view them in their fantasy? Is the limp gone? Did they lose weight? Do they appear to have these perfect features of, I don't know, a Miss World, for example? Not to say that a Miss World is perfect, but you know what I mean. Gojo says, I like balance in a relationship. Having fun, do different things, not always being conservative. So many different things in life to enjoy. One life to live, enjoy every moment. Yeah, you do want to enjoy every moment, but in enjoying each moment, you have to know what it is that you enjoy. So here we go back to the basics. Before you can know that you're a sapiosexual, you have to be one to be looking into yourself and recognize the things that you like and the things that you don't like. So in doing that, then you know what the kind of things you will enjoy. So that as you go through this one life that you have to live, that you recognize these things and you enjoy them as much as you can. You know, people have the saying that you only live once. Well, I don't really subscribe to that. You live every day. Every day you get up and you make it through that day, you have lived. What it is that you do once is die. You cease to exist as you are known in this space and time. That you do once. So you only die once, but you live every day. And as you live and you recognize the things that you like, even if you find out that you're a sapiosexual and you find that, okay, you recognize that you need to be fed by intelligence. Now you need to know where to go and find those intelligent people. You need to know what to do to attract those intelligent people. Because this is what you want stimulating you. This is what turns you on. Is this the person that is going to be the person that you want with you for the rest of your life? Or are these the people that you want to be with you for the rest of your life? Because, you know, different strokes, different folks. Let's not leave that out. Now, according to Pennant, perhaps the largest problem with sapiosexuality is that it might be best thought of as not sexuality at all. Sexuality is a kind of macro identity that attempts to describe in an almost exclusive way with whom a person desires to interact sexually. Gignac appeared to acknowledge this problem with an additional instruction to participants when they completed the Sapio Q. When considering your responses, he said, assume that the person or mate is of your preferred gender. In other words, they acknowledge that sapiosexuality is in all likelihood secondary to one means sexuality. Now, maybe the fluidity of macrosexuality leads right into the secondary sexual preferences and orientations, or maybe sapiosexuality is destined to end up with the kinks, quirks, and even the paraphilias. Only more solid and soulful research can start to peel back the layers of sapiosexuality. If by definition it does not matter what the gender of the object of desire is, all that matters is intelligence, then it really wouldn't matter what the gender is, would it? You stumbled right in it, Ebro. Long time, bro. Long time. Cujo says I'm married more than 30 years. Go through trials and translations. Wife IQ is awesome. Oh, big her up for me too. You know. But what turns me on was her love to help the needy and her love of God. Well, maybe you don't identify as sapiosexual, Cujo. Maybe your identification goes more towards the philanthropic. So if that is the case, then the person that does social work, the person that is looking out for the community and wants to develop the community and to help the needy, the homeless, the sick, the depraved, that is the kind of person that is going to be attractive to you. And it doesn't matter how many doctorates they could have amassed over time. It doesn't really matter how articulate they are. It is just what they do. And that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You know, like the old Jamaican saying, every hoe of them stick a bush. You know, every hoe has its handle. The gardening tool, that is. Not calling anybody out there any derogatory names or anything like that. So Facebook, just know so that you don't turn off my thing. All right. So, but as it relates to the sapiosexual, it is how the mind works that is stimulating. And depending on where you're going to find information, you have to be careful, because seeing that it is something that has been in play over the last decade to some extent, where that is a time frame that they started, people have started looking into what sapiosexuality is, then you need to be mindful of the information that you're reading. How is it that you react to individuals that are intelligent or perceived to be intelligent, or they're articulate? You know, how do you manage yourself with these individuals? We have a phone call here. Greetings and salutations.
Greetings to you, DJ Kevin Stew.
Big up Smile and the general manager himself. What's happening, bro?
Yeah, very interesting topic of discussion tonight.
Much love, man. Much love. Now, you identify as sapiosexual.
I do.
What has that experience been like for you? How easy is it for you to find someone that you can relate to on that level?
Actually, it's not necessarily hard, you know. Here's the thing with me, and I don't know if I misunderstand the definition or what it might be. But for me, it's not necessarily sexual,
Right.
and it won't prompt a sexual response out of me. But when I meet someone intelligent, an intelligent female,
Yeah.
it piques my interest and my curiosity about that person. That's what it does for me.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily spark, say, sexual interest, but it does it piques my curiosity and makes me interested in the person, maybe in getting to know the person a little more, gets me to want to know the person a little more. Upon hearing someone speak, it's kind of difficult, as you alluded to earlier, to keep up the charade of not being intelligent but appearing to be intelligent.
Yeah.
Because in speaking to someone in depth, eventually the lack of intelligence
It
will
shows.
come out. Now, yeah, and again, intelligence might mean different things to different people. Because for me, intelligence may not necessarily be someone who's highly educated.
Right.
Because you can speak to someone who's minimally educated, but they ooze intelligence.
Yes. And I made that comparison. I painted that analogy earlier when I mentioned the guy on the street corner that engages the guys in the hood in deep dialogue,
Yes.
but does not go to work, has not finished high school, doesn't have that degree, doesn't have letters before or after his name.
Correct.
So,
Correct. So it's a different, but I'm a bit of an enigma though, because in addition to shortly after coming across the word sapiosexual and its definition, I went into some digging, and I basically identify as a sapiosexual. But then I came across another term not long after that, demisexual, and I also identify as that. So it kind of puts me into a very strange situation. I don't think there are too many people who fall into both categories.
Yep. And the demisexual, they only feel sexually attracted to someone when they have an emotional bond with that person. So you know it, and that's for another. I might have to look at that one next week. I don't know, but it's funny that you mentioned being sapiosexual and recognizing an affinity towards or an association with being demisexual also, because now you're saying, okay, here I am and I'm taking notes of what works for me. And
Right.
I really believe that a lot of us tend to miss out on that little bit, that little aspect of who we are. And
That's true.
as a result, we end up conforming to societal norms. And
I think so. But you know what? Because I was basically aware of what I am and who I am before I knew there was a term for it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I guess that contributes to your being more of an enigma than you even let out to be. Um, so Julie asking what is a demisexual. I hope that simple definition gave you some insight into it, Julie. The thing is, being attracted to quote unquote intelligence. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it is in the form of an individual that is proficient in a particular area of a type of work or skill, with a type particular skill, or just overall that can fit in any situation and has a little bit of knowledge on everything, and but not a master of everything. You know, a jack of all trade, master of none. That kind of an individual.
Right,
That
basically.
or
Yeah.
but if that is the attracting factor, and how well they can articulate in whatever situation that they're in, and that makes them attractive, it isn't complete for you unless you have formed an emotional bond with that person.
Correct.
And
But I will say, though, I find that it is very easy for me to form an emotional bond with someone who I do find intelligent. But that is not always the case, because the intelligence can be the attracting factor, but maybe down the line I might find, well, maybe there's some incompatibility issues somewhere along the line, and that will be that. But that being said, though, I did mention that intelligence for me is not necessarily sexual. I enjoy being around intelligent people, period.
right.
Regardless of gender and or anything else.
Yes.
I just love to be around intelligent people, and I'll just sit down and listen to intelligent people talk and learn.
And that leads me to something that I wanted to make sure that I touched on before I got done with tonight's broadcast. And that is, the idea of being a sapiosexual does not necessarily mean that the relationship is sexual. Again,
Correct.
people are looking at this and saying, because we are talking about sapiosexual beings, and it has to have that sexual component. I beg to foster the thought that it goes beyond the sexual being.
So maybe the sexual part should be removed from the name. Maybe they should find something else to cause it, because that will that will only cause confusion.
But even with that, though, because they're associating it with the individual that is turned on. So I guess, all right, let's go back to that part. So you can't be sapiosexual unless you're stimulated sexually by the person that exudes this level of intelligence and can portray that persona. So it comes back to the thing that sexually stimulates you. So the heterosexual is stimulated by the opposite sex, the homosexual by the same sex. So all of these categories come back to a sexual component as a result of the thing that stimulates. So the sapio being, as we defined it earlier, being the intelligence part. And
Yeah.
and so it is supposed to be the goose pimples all over, because now you've heard this person speak. They don't look all that great, but they open their mouths, and what comes out of it, as a woman, you need to sit and cross your legs 15 times in order to compose yourself. And as a man, you're making sure that you don't have to stand up for anything at all. And you're sitting by a table and you can pull yourself under the table some more. This kind of experience from hearing someone speak. Because there's no other way to tap into the mind of an individual but to hear them speak.
True enough.
And so that leads to the tingling, that excitement, and that is sapiosexual. As a demisexual, it is, since it's an emotional link, it should be an emotional link that causes you to be turned on by this individual. And that emotional link now comes into play as a result of something that ties
Correct.
you emotionally, whether it is the fact that you went through an experience together. It might have been a near-death experience. It might be a trying experience. It might be just have been a rewarding experience. Whatever it is, I don't know how it works for you, but without looking deeper into it, this is the kind of thing that I get from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you combine the
Yeah,
two,
that's basically it. That's basically it.
right? So when you combine the two now, it leaves you in a bit of a quandary, because are you gonna go with the intelligence of the individual, or are you gonna go with the emotional bond that you share with the individual? Because you can be yourself with them, and you can pour out your heart to them, and they can pour out their souls to you, because they find you to be a confidant, and you're awesome at listening and whatever it is, and therein lies the connection. But does the connection go both ways? And so
That's the tricky part.
right. And so the struggle continues.
Exactly.
But ladies and gentlemen, especially ladies, Marlon can be heard on Reggae Global Radio on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 p.m., where he does Real Rockers. And let me tell you, the man is he is an encyclopedia when it comes to the history of music. The man is phenomenal. I'm not saying it because it's my brethren. I'm saying it because it's true. And
Well, give thanks to DJ Kevin too.
and and you're welcome, bro. And I try to give my flowers while people can receive it,
Definitely.
And saying that, here it is now, a sapiosexual female, because this is your orientation. You are a heterosexual male.
Yeah.
I know that from speaking with you. So herein lies another component of the sapiosexuality and the demisexuality, because it is all, I would go as far as to say, sub characteristics of your heterosexuality. So for those that are listening and thinking, okay, I am sapiosexual, but apparently to be sapiosexual means then that it is just intelligence or the mind of an individual, and it doesn't really matter if that individual is male or female. So now I have to wonder what my sexual orientation is. I beg to say that it doesn't override what you, however it is that you relate to individuals on a sexual level. What I think that comes first, as a result of you, the individual, knowing yourself. So
Yes, exactly.
it starts there. And I know you, Marlon, have done some introspection, and you know yourself in that realm. So you are a heterosexual male, and that is a starting point. Now here it is, the other layers start to come into play. So that is the main part.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
want people to understand that although we're talking about sapiosexuality and who a sapiosexual individual is, it does not define, it is not the defining thing of the individual, because there are other layers to the individual, and that is just one aspect of the individual.
Correct.
So I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there, and I'm not saying that that is the way that it is presented when you look up material. That's the way that I'm presenting it. So anybody that want to say, boy, DJ Kevin Stew, say, fine, I did say, and it's recorded. You know, it's not Dr. Kevin Stew, it's DJ Kevin Stew, and I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? Because ultimately, you have to decide, what works for you. Marlon says, this is what works for me. I'm heterosexual, first of all, and what comes after that is I'm sapiosexual, I'm demisexual. Whatever comes after that may or may not be on par with those things, but we know what come first.
There you go. Yeah, well put, man. Well put.
Much respect, brother. Much respect. So, I want to look at ways that they're saying that you can attract a sapiosexual. They say these are ways that you can turn on a sapiosexual. Someone who is the brainy person that you're into. So, ladies, if you hear Marlon's voice and you went and you searched on social media looking up Marlon Borrell and want to know who this guy is because he sounds like someone that tickles your fancy, you want to see if he checks all your boxes, how can you get someone like Marlon? You see how I put you on the spot, but you're Bridget, so I can't do that. Cujo says, my wife does that with me, but she loves she loves the high of balance I bring the truth. I tell her she has no problem with that, and I love that about her. Perfection is not her key to love. It's deeper than we think. Listen.
Well, here's the thing about perfection. I don't know if if we'll find that in this life.
But I beg to differ, Marlon. I think we find it every day. We just don't recognize it. You see, again, we are caught up with what society says a particular thing is. I was having in dialogue with someone today. I was talking about, and yesterday too, talking about success and the perception of it. And society says success means that you drive a fancy car, live in a big house, and your bank account is so fat that you have to lay it out on I don't know, several spreadsheets. I don't know, whatever. However way you want to define it being fat. But that is only success as it is perceived by some. The individual that set out to move from the front door of his house to the driveway because they have a fear of outside. When they made it to the driveway, others think of it as just, oh, but anybody can do that. No, but this person has a genuine fear.
Yeah, it's relative, yeah.
That's success. So, to say, I lost my train of thought. What it was that you said that why I went to.
Well, we were talking about perfection.
Perfection, right. Sorry. So here it is. the idea of or the concept of perfection is as it relates to that individual as they see it. My perfect
And that is
relationship is
true,
not yours.
but I think there are so many components involved in each individual. That's why I say that.
Yes. Yes. So
I mean, if you have 100 things, you know, that fits into what you want, how many people will have all 100 of those things?
exactly. Exactly. So how do you have the perfect relationship? You have the perfect thing for you at this point in time. You can't leave that part of it
Well,
out of it
I
out of
get
it
what
either.
you're saying, but when I was thinking of perfection in terms of, say, 100 checks out of 100, that's basically
Yeah.
what I was looking at.
Yeah, but like you said, we don't find that. We don't find that. So we people talk about then they don't want to settle. But we settle all the time.
True.
We're always settling because we never ever get exactly what it is that we want. There's always some
And
type
that's
of
basically
variation
what
to
I
it.
was saying. And you have to compromise somewhere at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was saying.
So if according to Mind Body Green, now I've never come across, I've never heard of this platform until until I did this. It's mindbodygreen.com, and I found this article which talks about ways to turn on sapiosexual. Well, and I guess you can say whether or not these would work.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Pay attention to their unique interests, and you can say whether or not these differ from just the average person trying to reach the average person.
Right. Good point.
So the first one is pay attention to their unique interests. How to turn on a sapiosexual. So first and foremost, they said no two sapiosexuals are alike. Says sex positive counselor Ashley D. Sweet. Being attracted to intelligence or intellect does not mean the sapiosexual in your life will be turned on by everything that falls in the broad realm of nerdy. Makes sense.
Does.
And so she goes on to say an easy way to seduce your sapiosexual is to get to know them for who they are. Sweet encourages you to peruse their bookshelf, their social media feeds, or even their Netflix queue to learn the kinds of content that stimulate them. Your first instinct may be to drop a hot game of Catan on the first date. In fact, you'd be way more into chilling with the episode of Carl Sagan's Cosmos. I don't know what any of those things are. I don't know Carl Sagan's Cosmos. I don't know what Catan is. I've never played the game. I've never heard of it. But what it falls under is pay attention to their unique interests. Now, anybody that
But I think that goes across the board, though.
that right there, Marlon, that right there. When we meet someone and we want to get close to them, isn't this the time that we pay most attention to what they like?
Absolutely.
So that one is the same as a person who is not a sapiosexual. Next on the list, orate your foreplay. Now, this can get you in all kinds of trouble, but let's go with what they're saying here. To achieve the type of intimacy your sapiosexual craves, take the onus off the physical touch and instead explore their sexuality verbally. So, I guess what are they saying here? Talk dirty to them? What are they saying? They said Emily Morse, sex and relationship expert, says the brain is the most powerful sex organ. And for sapiosexual, the mind-body connection is crucial when it comes to arousal. And this is why deeply discussing both your sexual desires and where they come from works well with sapiosexuals, because the biggest turn on can be talking about your turn-ons. Now, listen. Doesn't that work with everybody? Think about it.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Too.
You and your partner, or your new partner, and you're exploring ways to make that experience the best thing that it can be. It doesn't matter if they're sapiosexual or not. You're going to be talking about your desires. So you'll be orating your foreplay. Now,
Basically.
the next one on the list is plan book club and library dates. Okay. Maybe this one would definitely work with a sapiosexual versus the average Joe. Planning book club and library dates. Again, who goes to the library these days?
Well, maybe not you and I, but I'm sure the libraries are still open. So
Well,
someone is patronizing the place.
students. Yes, there are people that are still going to the library. A girlfriend of mine is a manager at a library here in Broward. So I know that libraries are still open. But
Kevin, there are people who are old school and might not necessarily. They might prefer the tactile experience of actually reading an actual book.
listen, I have a few books here. I have on my desk here, I have 2 of C.L. Brown's books. And over on a chair, I have another one. So, yeah, I get the tactile experience. But also, for those that don't have computers at home, library is a good place to go and use a computer also.
True enough.
Book clubs. There are some people that still have book clubs. And someone I was talking with the other day said, well, sometimes it is not the actual book, but it's an e-reader. So it's an electronic book, but it's still the book club. And they're still going through and reading books. So, these individuals have like minds, they choose a book and either they get it from the library. Here it is, the library coming to play. They get it from the library or they download it. Whichever way.
Right.
Next, discover culture together. Again, I see just about anybody doing that. Not just sapiosexuals.
Yes.
Next on the list, let them teach you. Well, okay. Let me read this one through because I want to see what is different in this than me knowing how to make jerk chicken and meeting someone who only likes jerk chicken and doesn't know how to make it. I don't have to be a sapiosexual and they don't have to be a sapiosexual for me to teach them and them love the fact that I'm teaching them and get turned on by the fact that we're having this experience. Because it's a bonding experience, which typically would turn on most people anyway.
Right.
Especially demisexuals.
well.
So they go on to say, sapiosexuals are attracted to intelligence, but they don't expect you to know everything. No one can live up to that standard, not even them. So don't feel pressured to awe this person with your ability to keep up with every topic. Instead, tell them when you're clueless. Then have them teach you at that point. True intellectuals can admit when they don't know something, and your partner might be impressed with your humility. According to Dr. Sweet, they certainly won't be turned on by your attempt to know it all. Performative intelligence will fall flat and likely turn your beloved sapiosexual right off. Again,
True.
stick to
Yeah,
your
true.
strength. So, I know one
In,
thing.
in other words, don't try to fake it, and that just about goes for everybody.
Everybody. So, you know one thing, you do one thing very well, then that is your thing. That is your strong point, and you can teach the heck out of that thing to whomever. Once that individual is interested in you, then they'll want to know what it is that you're involved in and what it is that you do and why you do it. Especially, well, me, I'm always about the why. And
Mhm.
I don't know about others how they feel about it, but you know, that's how I feel. Kujo says I went somewhere to an event and my wife said, I don't know why they wanted to invite her. They said they love her intelligence, but she smiled, and when we left, she said interesting conversations. Um, my train of thought is high. Would she go? Oh, basically, he says he can't fake laugh, he can't fake it. But I guess she went because of him. I'd have to read some more into that, Cujo. Um, and he also says it's not always, it's not about the sex always. And you know, there's no relationship that is all about sex. Even the ones that are built on a hookup. People that have prostitutes, they have regular prostitutes that they may hire. Even them, it's not just okay, show up, take off your clothes, let's do the do and leave. I cannot think of any relationship that is just about one thing and one thing only. Maybe the only relationship like that is the relationship at the gas station, where you show up, you pump your gas, you pay your money, you leave.
Right.
You know, there's no relationship with individuals or between individuals that is that one tract. And so,
Well, maybe there are some business relationships like that.
but not even the business ones, because even with the business ones, there is a personal aspect that comes into play with many of them.
Well, that's the key word with many of them.
Yeah. And when I talk about the personal aspect that comes into play, I'm not talking about in-depth, extensive personal. But which business transaction happens with individuals conducting business that they don't say, hey, how you doing? Even that. Is that just being polite, or is that something more than just business?
Well, I mean, even that, I won't take it for granted that, yeah, there are some people who might not want to exchange pleasantries. They just want to do business.
But they exchange the pleasantries nonetheless.
I'm saying some might not. Because, for example, speaking of introverts, there's some level of introversion that they just don't do small talk. Just get to the point and keep it moving.
Well, I guess you as an introvert would know that part.
Well, I'm not one of those introverts, but there is, because there are levels to introversion, but there's a level of introversion where small talk is not their thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they try to avoid it at all times.
Right. Probably something else to look a little bit deeper into. Um, Back to what Mind Body Green is saying about how to stimulate a sapiosexual. Have a game night with a twist. Play something like strip Scrabble. I don't see how that would work with anybody. Anyway, play strip Scrabble. You'll find you'll
Yeah,
never work
you
harder.
just have to have the strip part in there. you can substitute whatever, Scrabble,
Strip,
whatever else.
poker, strip,
Just put the strip in there.
3 card, strip Uno. That turns up any game. Strip checkers.
And there you
Come
go.
on. But they say you'll never find that you've worked harder or been more turned on by a triple a triple word score. So in this steamy version of the game, whoever has the fewer points by the end will be naked first. But Morse notes that everyone wins in this version of the game. All of a sudden, I want to play Scrabble. All of us. um, uh, oh, Kujo just shared another aspect of his outing with his wife. He said she was tired of acting fake laughing at their rather boring jokes, basically, is what he's saying. Trying to hide the accented white teeth. And she's very social, but with lots of energy. Thank you, Kujo. So game night with a twist. I'm definitely. Do I have Scrabble? I have
Well,
dominoes.
as you said, it doesn't have to be Scrabble. Well, there you go. It doesn't have to be Scrabble.
And
You can substitute whatever there. What
I'll never can play
whatever
strip
floats your boat
jacks.
goes there.
I can play strip jacks.
Whatever floats your boat. Whatever floats your boat.
So an adult spin works for most intellectual board and card games. So it's something that you could try. You pick a game of your choosing and see how that works. Align your interests. I think that again works with just about any relationship.
True enough.
Okay, one that would definitely work with someone who identifies as sapiosexual is grammar. People
Yes.
that have gotten into this short text way of communicating, writing the letter U instead of writing out the word you. Saying GM versus good morning. All these shortened versions of words, these abbreviated words, these acronyms that have come into play since text has grown. A sapiosexual will apparently not be too thrilled interacting that way.
Well, personally, I was not easily accepting of it, but I've just come to accept that that's just the way things are now. And people who are using the abbreviations does not necessarily mean that they don't know or understand grammar. It's just an easier, shorter way to do it.
Right.
So I've come to accept that.
Now they're saying that sapiosexuals typically are turned on by your use of the English language. Well, the use of full text, basically. My thing is, I guess I take
What
it a step
about
further.
what about when there was these abbreviations didn't exist? So typical everyday writing would.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I take it a step further and I go with American English versus British English.
Aha. Lots of differences there.
And I play that game even in some of my posts. And I purposely use the British spelling with a lot of my posts that have like the word color, favorite, neighbor. I would intentionally use the British spelling. Why? Because one, it reminds people that I didn't grow up here. I am not American. I am familiar with both spellings, but I intentionally do it so that one, they can think. Because too often we've gotten so lazy with our thinking that we want other people to
Or we
think for
might
us.
think there's only one correct way of doing things.
And there's that.
Because just because you're right doesn't mean that I'm wrong.
Oh, but you know how I feel about that. Because I always encourage people to have acceptance through enlightenment, which
There you
leads
go.
you to not being right or wrong. It leads you to find out the why and to accept the position that another may have, even though it differs from yours. And it doesn't mean that the relationship that you have has to end because you have a difference of opinion, but you can agree to disagree on that opinion. And in that, you find agreement, you find a cohesion coming out of that disagreement because there's
Well,
that
that's
mutual respect.
That's it.
But we digress. And the next on the list is share your passion. Again, something that anybody would do. It is recommended in
Yeah.
any type of relationship that you share your passion
So,
anyway.
so did we find any that actually applies only to sapiosexuals?
Not quite.
Because they
Well,
all seem to apply across the board.
yeah. Maybe the strip Scrabble would be one, but you know
But
that's a,
even that, you can substitute the Scrabble.
but even so, anybody would want to play that Scrabble.
Well, there you go. Even if you are not into Scrabble, you might want to play.
Exactly. Documentary and chill is next on this list. I guess it's supposed to replace your Netflix and chill, but a lot of programs on Netflix, you have documentaries on Netflix and people find them quite fascinating. The Tiger King. A lot of people found Tiger King to be quite fascinating. It's a documentary.
Yeah.
So documentary and chill. To replace your movie, you go to documentary. I remember I did the Viola Davis when I first learned of Julius Jones. It was a documentary series that Viola Davis did. And that was my movie night for 2 nights in a row. My date night 2 nights in a row was this documentary on Julius Jones. Normally I do a 1 night movie night. This was held over for 2 nights. But Marlon, I didn't even realize how the time has gone by. I have 2 minutes to wrap up this broadcast. All right, so There's talk nerdy to them. There's write a short story together. There's read to them. There's pretend to host a podcast episode. I do that in real life. Marlon does
Yeah.
a similar thing in real life. Get controversial. I do that every day. Learn a new skill together. Those are your lists. But, you know, who wants to be in agreement all the time anyway? Through conflict, you find out things about your partner. And it's not to say that you're going to argue all the time. Conflict doesn't mean that you can't get along. It just means a difference of an opinion, and you found a way to work through it. That is what is going to build your relationship.
That's it.
Marlon, I'll let you have a final word before we get out of here.
Well, DJ Kevin Stew, I must say that this has been an enlightening discussion, and I've learned a little bit, and it will cause me to think a little further. But what I'm really thinking about most here, what I take away from this that I will maybe dig into a little more, is the sexual part of being a sapiosexual. I'm going to start digging deeper there.
Right. Cool. Let me know how that works out. I'm sure we'll talk about it some more.
Definitely.
All right, bro. We'll talk. Thank you again. Appreciate, love you all the time, brother.
Every time, my friend.
All right, cool. Take it easy.
Bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew, Real Talk Night. Thank you to the affiliates, NIE Radio, ClintonLindsay.com, the Foundation Radio Network, PEMG TV, Zeno FM, Facebook. I truly appreciate of you holding up your end of the bargain and keeping me on, not booting me off. Those of you watching on Facebook Live, thank you. Truly appreciate love each and every one of you. Remember, look out for members of your community. And your community is not just a development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide. So those that you pass on the bus, the plane, the boat, the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these individuals are your neighbors. Look out for one of them today, because you never know who's going to look out for you tomorrow. My name is DJ Kevin Stew, so I like to do it to you, for you, and with you every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Usually on kevinstew.com. Tonight right here on Facebook Live. I don't know what's going on with my video presenter, but working on it, tech team working on it. We'll see what happens. Join me on Saturday for the Saturday Stew on Reggae Global Radio at 8 p.m. Do check that out. I have my secret ingredient all lined up. The only way for you to know who it is for you to be a part of the broadcast. So, reggaeglobalradio.com on Saturday, 8 p.m. right after Down to the Root with Melly, which starts at 4 p.m., which happens right after Motivation on Saturdays with the Motivator. So big up to my NIE family once again. Catch you all on Monday if we don't catch up on Saturday. Remember, the podcast is available. The YouTube is available. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew, they go by the same name, and they're available everywhere. The podcast is available everywhere you check your podcasts. Okay? All right. So thank you to Mike Neil Trucking once again. Thank you to the rest of my sponsors, Mike Neil Trucking, Reggae Global Entertainment, Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands, and Pulse E-Media Group. Truly appreciate love each and every one of you. Y'all have yourselves a great night. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world. From right here in South Florida, it's good night. Take care. Be good. If you can't be good at it. Kevin Stew on his way out. Oh, where's my closeout thing? See, I'm here talking with you guys and totally forget about the fact that I'm closing out. Alright, I'm out. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.